Hello, I'm Jackie Hayes, founder and chief marketing strategist of Crayons and Marketers, a full service marketing agency here in Nashville, crafting culturally sensitive, data driven content marketing for ambitious brands. And it is National Black Business Month, and we're celebrating the tremendous impact Black owned businesses have on the economy, our communities, and their families as they build generational wealth. For me, as a Black woman and Black founder, it was important to do something special to shine a spotlight on Black founders this year, especially after the last 16 months. The pandemic disproportionately impacted Black businesses in general, but also created opportunities for some Black founders to pivot and innovate. So, we developed the Black Founders Courageous Comeback series, where during the month of August, we invite Black business owners to share their experience from over the last few months to not only display their resilience and to showcase their amazing businesses, but to also let the world know that we're here and ready and capable to do the work. So, perhaps we can even inspire someone who may be on the verge of giving up. Joining me today is an amazing woman and business owner who I've had the pleasure and honor to get to know and be mentored by. She didn't even know she was mentoring me, but I just want to get close to her and pick up some nuggets that she dropped. Tanya Hill is founder of ForeverFresh, a line of disposable undergarments for women and children, and the managing member of AP United LLC, who recently teamed up with Paradise La de Deer, and I know I probably said that wrong, Tanya, you're gonna have to help me, and now owns and operates 2 retail stores and 16 food and beverage concepts. Sis, welcome.
Thank you. No, you did great. It is
Okay.
Paris Lagadier.
Paradise, okay, I told her she was gonna have to help me. My Southern accent
Okay,
was gonna mess it up. So
that's
welcome,
okay.
welcome, welcome. I have such profound respect for this woman, everybody. So tell them, Tanya, a little bit about yourself and your business. I've only scratched the surface.
Well, first of all, I am honored. I'm so honored to be in your presence today. You are an amazing, amazing young woman that, listen, I admire, and I'm looking and picking up nuggets from you as well.
Oh, wow. See, this is the
Um,
love. See, we're gonna try not to cry on this thing, y'all, and stay on target. So go ahead and tell us about yourself, Tanya.
well, I am an ordinary person who didn't know that I could do extraordinary things. And I say that my background, I'm a mother of four. They're adult children now. I have two grandchildren. But when I started Forever Fresh, I was a cashier at a local grocery store. And I didn't know anything about business. But it was my passion and desire to help people that kind of propelled me to get to where I am today. And just a little background. Um, I decided that I wanted to, I took a buyout, first of all, from the grocery store. And I began to rep a chemical company. Now, my father lived in Taipei, and I promised him, Dad, one day I'm going to come over and visit you. And I thought he probably thought, yeah, sure. Well, it turns out that I had an opportunity to represent this chemical company in the first US Taipei trade show. And so that's how I got over to visit my dad. But what was so extraordinary about being over there and being in that environment, if this was in the late 80s, it opened up a whole new world for me. So the first time I was able to see business being conducted on an international scale.
Right.
And I left there just, starstruck that, wow, I didn't know all of this was out here.
Mhm.
And I remember coming home, and I'm a very faith-based person. And I remember saying just a little prayer like, God, if you give me an idea that I can make a lot of money, I want to be able to create an environment where other young people can see what I've just seen and get a chance to experience international business. And not long after that, I came up with an idea of, I know you remember this, always with the wings.
Yes.
So I had this great idea. Now, mind you, this was when people didn't want to talk about film hygiene. We were real squeamish about that. But I thought, what a great idea, because we mess up underwear every month, right? And so I'm at my kitchen table, I run to get some pads, and I sew up a prototype. So I start talking to my girlfriends, and immediately they laughed. What I learned later on, that laugh was really embarrassment, because we just were not comfortable talking about feminine hygiene. But after she laughed, she said, yeah, but it's a good idea. And then a male associate of my former husband and I was a business person. So I said, well, let me talk to him. He laughed. And then after he thought about it, he said, but it's a good idea. But the laughing so discouraged me. I had tall kitchen shelves, right? So I took the prototype, threw it up on the kitchen shelf, that nobody goes to, right? And about a few years later, the same lady that laughed at me, she calls me up and says, girl, do you remember those pads you made with the wings? And I said, yeah. She said, well, I just saw them in the store, and they're called Always. At the time she called, I was sitting again at my kitchen table. And so again, instead of asking God for an idea, I had to repent. And I said, I promise. I said, I'm so sorry I didn't move on that. I said, but if you give me one more chance, I won't quit.
Right.
And immediately the thought of ForeverFresh came. Now, I didn't know I was going to go out of business twice. I didn't know I was going to get a divorce. I didn't know I was going to lose almost everything I own. But all of those things happened. And I still held on to the concept, the product, restarted it, relaunched it. And during that time, being out on my own, I met other people and got an opportunity through networking, which is so critical for business owners, to partner with my current business partner, Phil Pierce. And we formed a company and did a joint venture with an international company and landed all these contracts that we have in the airport. So now I'm a person running, in two separate business worlds that are on, total different ends of the spectrum. But it has been very enriching. And the one thing that I love about it, it gives me, I work very, very hard, but
Yes,
it gives me the flexibility to do my passion, and that's to serve. So I serve on several boards, as you well know, one with you, Jackie. But it gives me that opportunity to help other people. And time is such a valuable currency for me. And I know that I couldn't do the things that I do now for the community and for other entrepreneurs. If I was in a 9-to-5, I wouldn't be able to do it. So that's kind of my background story.
absolutely. Well, it sounds like you're no stranger to hard times in business.
Yeah.
And so when COVID-19 hit last year, it's often thought of as a dual pandemic, but it's actually three factors at play, right? You have health, wealth, and social injustice. So how did these factors impact you and your businesses last year?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. I was on a huge roller coaster. And the roller coaster was in one point of my life, and then it would go into the airport and back to ForeverFresh. But all of it was a roller coaster. And I remember I had gotten ForeverFresh to a point where I'm on autopilot, because right now we distribute the product to 3 major distributors. So I'm doing B2B, and it's I have it set up where it's very easy to manage. So most of my time had been at the airport. I remember when the virus first came out, and we knew something was very serious. And I immediately went to Home Depot and bought up all of the KN95 masks I could find to try to get them to my employees at the airport. And what was so somewhat disheartening, some people, even giving them the masks, didn't want to wear them. I couldn't make them at that point, but I knew what was coming down the pipeline, and I was very alarmed. And then you can imagine having 16 restaurants. Well, some are smaller concepts, but some are full service, some are quick serve. But having 16 locations, and then the governor says you got to shut down.
Mm.
We had about a little over 700 employees at the time, and our team, they're just incredible. Susan Thompson runs our operations for us at the airport, and they immediately jumped into action, and we decided, okay, we've got to shut down. We had hours to shut down all those locations. And so we decided to, all the food that we could freeze, that we could to use later, we did. A lot of the food we could not. And so we decided to bring all of it to our HR office, call our employees and say, come and get all the food, whatever's here. Mm-hmm. So we gave away, because we didn't want to waste it. That was pretty tough. Fortunately, I felt relieved that our employees could get unemployment because it happened so fast. Our management team.
Did you have to let the employees go temporarily, or?
Yes, they had to file for unemployment. We did that. We kept our management team to try to, make sure everything was closed down properly. Once that was done, we still kept them on to, do deep cleaning, whatever stuff we could catch up with, because we could not afford to let everyone go, especially our management team. ForeverFresh, on the other hand, had a totally different effect. So, I have an inventory. I have a warehouse that warehouses our product. And if I get an order, it's by email. I process everything by email. And all of a sudden, in January, I started getting all these orders. And I'm thinking, where are these orders coming from? At this point now, we're in back order. And we discovered that, unfortunately, with the detention centers that are in Texas that are housing a lot of folks that are crossing the border, the bottom line is they need underwear. Mm-hmm. We have disposable underwear. So I feel very grateful that in that respect, I'm able to provide that service, right. Because a lot of our product, is there to help people who are in dire straits. And I remember years ago when I came up with the concept, it kind of came to me that this product was going to be a healing cloth for people. Now, little did I know, fast forward 2021, that it would help a lot of people in that way. So I'm very grateful for that. But I'm also cautious about, where are we going with this virus, and what can I do as a business owner to help the people that support our businesses, and to help our community.
Absolutely, because as you say, fast forward to 2021, ForeverFresh is outperforming, and now air travel has picked up substantially, and so the business, I'm sure, are back operational, and for those employees who could come back or wanted to come back, I'm sure they're back. And so, how did you ramp back up, especially at the airport? How did you?
It was rough.
So walk through how you ramp, because it's a lot of us, we had to take a step back last year, and now we're trying to regain our momentum. And so how did you get back to, I'm sure probably at capacity or beyond it now?
Well, let me backtrack on that. I think what's important for any business is your foundation. Mm. And we have an excellent management team that, number one, focuses on customer service and making sure that our team is trained and that they know that they have our support. I think without that, we would not have had the management team that would go above and beyond, their capacity. I mean, they have put in long hours. They have worked their job, their assistant manager's job. If it was washing dishes, whatever needed to be done to open up those locations, they did it. If you don't have the team in place that believes in you,
right,
and that knows that you have their back, you won't get that type of commitment from them. So that was really the foundation that propelled us to get where we are. We're still short. We have 4 locations that still are not open. We just opened PF Chang last month. And so the struggle has been for us to get employees back. And in Michigan, I think it's doubly hard because we don't have mass transportation. And
really?
no, we do not have mass transportation. And so the airport, for example, I have some employees that catch 2 and 3 buses to get to work.
Okay.
And so it's still a struggle for us. We've offered, incentives, and that's minimally been effective. We have really just relied on the employees that have come back and totally on our management team, because we know that when things get tough and they're short, they're going to pick up the slack and make it work. We've also we had to modify some of our operating hours because you just can't operate full force. And we've also modified some of our menus. You'll see that in street side restaurants as well, where a lot of restaurants aren't open certain days, or they have a modified menu. That's because they just don't have the help to service it. And so I'm really thankful, and I have to put a plug in on this piece for NABO because of their advocacy. It's made me as a business owner keenly aware of how important public policy is, because that trickles down to what's happening, with us. When we think about the unemployment, I'm all for unemployment. I think it's great. It was a lifesaver for our employees. But when the economy started opening up, we need to kind of switch and change that and say, well, we'll give you unemployment, for example, if you come back to the same job, we'll give it to you for a while. The fact that people don't have proper adequate childcare, right. Some of our employees are simply afraid to come back, and I get that. But some, quite frankly, make more money at home getting unemployment than coming back to work. So it's put the employer in a very tough position, which organizations really need to educate our government that are making these policies on what's going to work, that's going to benefit the worker, the employee, and ultimately our economy.
Right, because that's hotly debated topic, because a lot of businesses are in that position. They just can't get the talent that they need. And so I know when we were hiring this year, I struggled to fill my last 2 roles. It was really difficult. Yeah. And so right now it's a talent economy, it's a talent market. And so for employers, it's a couple different things at play, employer branding. And that's something that maybe a lot of small businesses don't think about, but you really have to, it's just almost like you would brand your company from a marketing perspective. Employer branding is becoming an employer of choice and making sure that people understand how wonderful it is to work with your organization, and then being able to onboard those employees in a way. And then you're still always marketing, either externally or internally. Marketing is always
absolutely. Absolutely.
Employees, and then you have to get your clients. And so, which is a great segue into my next question. How are you driving traffic to the stores? I don't know if we mentioned this, but you're in Detroit, Michigan. Yes. Okay. So you're not based here in Nashville. So how are you getting people to the restaurants that are open in the airport?
Well, I don't want to say we have a captive audience. I kind of think we do, but we have a I don't want to say the word captured audience, but we drive, I think, our audience on service. We get many compliments on our social media platforms about customers thinking, wow, I didn't feel like I was in an airport. I felt like I was in a regular restaurant. So again, that service, I just have to say it, service, service, service.
Service. So, but you mentioned social media. So you are on all your social, you're on social media, and do you do any
Yes.
type of, Google ads or pay-per-click or any of that?
No, I think at some point, the good thing that the change that we've been inspired by, or I guess is going faster, is that we were already in a process of figuring out how we could have not online ordering from an app on your phone, bringing that platform into the airport environment. That's something that we had been looking at for a while. Now that COVID is here, we've kind of gone a little faster in trying to get that, figure out how that's going to look, and how we can implement it on all of our platforms. Because even though we have these restaurants under one company, they're all different, distinct brands. And so that's another, I don't want to say challenge, but that's something that we have to still work through as we're thinking about the different apps that we can use. But we're getting there. I know when we initially opened up in the Delta terminal, we have two terminals in Detroit, the North Terminal and the Delta. We have locations in both. But when we initially opened up the Delta terminal, we started in one of the passenger areas having an app that was stationed right where passengers sit, that they could actually go on and order food and have it brought to them. And customers rarely use that. They had games on it, and mostly they were used to play games. So we had to rethink that. And now with because of COVID, and people were so used to using Grubhub and all of those apps, that has exacerbated us into thinking in that direction. That would be the better avenue for us. Yeah.
E-commerce was one of the pivots that a lot of companies found themselves making in Q4 last year and early this year, because last year you couldn't, if you're a restaurant, you couldn't have any, you weren't in the restaurant. And so that was the saving grace for a lot of businesses, is to be able to do an app and pick it up curbside. And so it's just interesting now in the airport, it's starting to catch on, although sounds like you were ahead of the curve and people weren't using it. But now it's like, perfect, I can just go ahead and order it, zip file or someone to bring it out, and I'm good. And so I see that being just starting to be the norm moving forward, because we spent a lot of time online last year. And so a lot of businesses are wondering, do I need a digital strategy? And the answer is yes, because
absolutely.
Those consumer behaviors that took root last year, which was digital first, are not going to go back. And so it's really pushing us all for more digital. This YouTube series is a product of that, being stretched just a little bit.
Right.
Because we all can have opportunities for growth in the digital space. And that app sounds like that can be a big push for you in the coming months. And so what do you want other businesses to know about your two businesses, about the restaurant chains, about ForeverFresh? What do you want people to know about those two entities?
Well, the airport, first of all, I would love for your audience to travel to Detroit. Detroit Metro Airport is one of the best airports in the country. We have live music. I know in Atlanta, our partners are based in Atlanta, and they have music there as well. You have Nashville. Great. Well, Detroit, I mean, we're Motown, so we have to have music, right?
We don't have.
We have some wonderful musicians. I handpicked and hired, and they are fabulous in our locations. We have actually just hired a steel drummer in our Air Margaritaville. And so, we encourage travelers, huh?
Margaritaville, P.F. Chains. Name a couple more of the restaurants.
We have Atwater Brewery, which is a local brand in Detroit market. We have Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
We have Longhorn Steakhouse. We have a Cat Cora, which, she was one of the first female Iron Chefs. And we opened up her brand in the McNamara terminal. We have Potbelly, and we have a Plum Market, which is wildly successful. That's another very, very popular local brand here in this market. And so with all of the brands that we have, the music really, really kind of adds to that. So I would just encourage people, if you ever come through Detroit, check out, one of our locations. We'd love to have you. And with ForeverFresh, we are sold through distributors, but some of those distributors are manage schools all across the country. And when people think about disposable underwear, they kind of laugh at first, but when you think about the applications, they're pretty broad. I travel a lot, and I jokingly tell people they're better than American Express. I never leave home without them. I keep them in my luggage. Seriously, I do. I mean, you could get your luggage lost, or get stuck. That has happened to me a few times. And so, I'm old school. What our mothers told us: never get in an accident, and never be out with soiled underwear. So, that kind of sticks in the back of my mind,
Being prepared is key. Absolutely. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
now, are they in any stores like a Walgreens or?
No, during my journey, I've had them in stores, but as a small owned business, when you're dealing with retail, B2C, it's very, very expensive, and it's very competitive. And, I've had them in, Kmart, I've had them in CVS, I've had them in Walmart. The challenge that I had as a small person, the slotting fees, you have to pay to be, to get the premier shelving, just the back end support of distribution and going into each individual store and making sure the product is placed and inventory is levels are where they should be. That takes a lot of infrastructure to do that. And so through all of those trials, as I began to sell to the distributors and saw how they were distributing to the schools, it was easier for me to just call a couple schools and say, hey, we have this product. Who is your distributor? I deal with the 3 top largest ones in the country, and 9.99% of the chance, the schools that I talk to, one of my distributors is their distributor. Okay. So it makes it so much easier for me to just say, hey, this school is interested. They got Salesforce, they send them there, and they start ordering. So B2C for me, especially with the time that I have to spend in the airport, is just a much better fit for what I'm doing.
Yeah, you definitely want to know your business model and the business model that works for you, and where you're trying to go at your business. So in our last few minutes here, Tanya, give us just 1 or 2 words of wisdom that you can share with other Black founders striving towards their comeback.
Well, when I first started this business, and I heard it and I didn't hear it, but I remember a person telling me the hardest thing for a business owner to do is to stay married. I can truly, I've witnessed that, good and bad. I did get a divorce. And, these are the hard conversations that people need to have. When you start a business, your time commitment, your family, everybody's in that business.
Mhm.
And if everybody's not on board, you're going to have some problems. And so that was a tough lesson for me. I've remarried. My children are grown now, so I'm in a whole different program, if you will, different
Stage of
stage of my life where I don't have all the commitment, pulling at me and decisions to be made. I remember, but I'm very fortunate that my children understand and did learn from my business. Your kids are watching you. And two of them are I have four, two of them are very, very entrepreneurial. The other two, have great jobs, but they did learn a lot from the sacrifices that I made in that business, and they benefited from them, quite frankly. I remember the one story I'll share. My oldest daughter was about 6 years old when I started the business, and I would take her to different places with me, and apparently she was really paying attention to my pitches, when I pitched to people. And I remember being at a meeting of a gentleman, and we were at a conference. I had her with me, and they'd go help me set up the booths and everything. And it was really funny because she was very quiet, very polite, and she listened to me pitch my business, but she was used to me at the end of my pitch taking out of the product and showing it. Well, this was a gentleman, and we were in a place where I really wanted to take out underwear and show him, right? And so just as I finished, she waited a little while, and I guess she thought, well, she's not going to show the underwear. So she reached in my briefcase, got the panties out, and looks up to the guy and gives him the underwear. And I thought, oh my goodness. But it taught me she's been watching my pitch, and she knows exactly what comes next. So to the degree that you can incorporate your family and your children in your business, I say do it. Times are gonna be hard, but you'll get through it.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Everybody does that time with you as a business owner. And so instead of warring against, that, try to get everybody involved. And so they feel part of it. Like your kids are watching, and that's hard. And the pandemic was disproportionately unfair to people of color, and it was harder on women.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a whole nother episode, because that's the soapbox for me.
Absolutely.
So that's another episode, but it was harder on women, and it's still hard on women because we're still
very hard.
That we lost a million women in the workforce in last December, and so like I said, that's another episode. But your business is a priority, your family is a bigger priority, but they don't have to be at odds.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have to, and one last thing that is very, very important. You have to make time for yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of times we don't. Mm-hmm. And the other advice, it's okay to say no.
Absolutely. It is okay to say no. You know your capacity. Know when you're getting burned out. Ask for help early, not when it's a fire.
Yes.
And then as
I'm learning that I put my appointments with Tanya on my calendar. And so if someone says, I need to see you, if I'm on the calendar, I say, no, I have an appointment. It's my appointment. And so I really try to discipline myself to do that, just so that, like you said, you don't get burned out, because I've been so tired sometimes that I'm not productive. And when you get to that space, it's just time to step back and relax.
Absolutely. But Tanya, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. You know, you and I were chatting before we came on that we're going to have to watch our time because we could talk and keep talking.
No.
And it would be 2 hours later, y'all still on Zoom. So, so if anyone out there wants to get in touch with you, purchase ForeverFresh or get a bite to eat, you just told us to hit the Detroit airport. You know, what's the best way to reach you?
Through LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Tanya R. Hill, and through ForeverFresh.com. We have info at ForeverFresh. They can reach me through there, or a lot of people do it through LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the Black Founders Courageous Comeback series. Don't forget to like our new YouTube channel. And I just had everybody laughing. I was like, we just set this up. And so we need y'all to go out there and like the channel so you don't miss an episode of the Black Founders series or any of the future series. We're going to try to keep these coming. So we appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations. Much success to this.